Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. I hope you guys are waking up and feeling good out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day. And I hope everyone's been having an awesome week out there so far. Hopefully, it's your last day of your week with the 4th of July for tomorrow. So I know for me, I actually have today and tomorrow off. My job decided to make today what we call a floating holiday. So that's pretty cool. Only a 3-day work week. But anyways, hope you guys are doing well. Here to speak on the weather. We'll speak on current conditions, the latest outlooks first, and then we'll break down the country section by section. There'll be a couple areas that we'll zoom into. For example, the Northeast has a higher risk of strong to severe thunderstorm activity for today. So we'll zoom into areas like that and a few other areas also. And then we'll give you an update on the days to come as far as severe and flooding risk. And then we'll give you a full update on the tropics. Still watching that area of interest off the coast of the Southeast, now up to a 50% chance to develop into a tropical depression, maybe even a named storm, which the next name is Chantal, the C name. So we'll speak on all that. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling here. So this is the current conditions. We got a lot of moisture hanging out down here in the south central U.S., across Arizona, New Mexico, just an influx of moisture because of the remnants of Barry, which made landfall several days ago on the east coast of Mexico. And we're getting a push of moisture up from Flossie in the eastern Pacific, which is another tropical system, of course, on the other side of Mexico. So moisture is surging all the way up through the Rockies. We got an area of moisture all the way up here in the Dakotas and eastern Montana. We got some rain out here in Oklahoma, Arkansas, some moisture still dancing off the Gulf coastline, the Northeast Gulf. And we got a good bit of moisture hanging off the coast of the Southeast, and we're continuing to deal with these scattered downpours and storms across the state of Florida. We got some flow up here across areas of the Northeast, so waking up to some heavy rain across like the Adirondacks. A lot of rain across places like Nova Scotia this morning in just Atlantic Canada. So this is current conditions, watches, warnings, and advisories. We got red flag warnings in this pink color out here across the west, getting dry, it's hot. Flood watches, lost my voice there for a second. In the green across areas of Texas, New Mexico, we got heat advisories up north across Minnesota, Wisconsin, areas of the Dakotas, and eastern Montana. You know, the eastern U.S. is pretty quiet, though. I mean, we're not waking up to really anything at all as far as watches, warnings, and things like that. The Storm Prediction Center outlook, slight risk across the Northeast. Almost the entire Northeast runs at least a risk of some of these storms getting to severe limits. And then we have a marginal risk here in areas of the upper Midwest. And then we have a slight and marginal risk in the yellow and green across areas of the northern high plains. So let's zoom into the Northeast first. What's driving this? The tornado outlook, you know, it's pretty low, sub 2%. The wind threat, though, is really what's driving the slight risk, level 2 out of 5 upgrade here. We have a 15% risk of some of these storms producing 55, 60 mile per hour wind gusts, and we will zoom into these areas here in a second. The hail threat is only at a 5% risk, but I can almost guarantee some of these storms are going to produce at least some small hail. Now, we'll go down here. I'm sorry, more so over here, because this is actually further north. We'll just start with the hail outlook here. This actually is significant. So in the yellow areas across areas of North Dakota, we have a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger, and a 10% risk in the black outline region of hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. And of course, we do have a risk of damaging winds in the yellow, 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. And there is a 2% risk of a tornado in this area in the green. So be aware of that in areas of the northern high plains. But moving past that, if we look at the excessive rainfall outlook, you know, it's wild. Even though we're running a risk of strong to severe thunderstorm activity across the Northeast, there's not even a marginal risk of flash flooding. So anyways, down here, we do have that 15% risk of flash flooding within 25 miles of any given location across areas of New Mexico and Texas, and we continue to have the risk of flash flooding across the west coast and just western areas of Florida. Continuing to move forward here, we'll break down the southeast first. And we'll move this in time. We'll get into about mid-afternoon. Just a lot of thunderstorm activity for the peninsula of Florida. And I mean, elsewhere, once you get into northern Florida, points north across the rest of the southeast, I mean, the only real risk of thunderstorms you have is just that pop-up storm. And you can get that even on that 10 to 20% chance of storm type day. And for the rest of the southeast, that's going to be the kind of day it's going to be. But you see some pop-up activity here in eastern North Carolina, South Carolina, even some stuff you're seeing popping up there in Georgia. But it's going to be really pop-up in nature. Certainly the further south you get closer to Florida, probably the higher the chances of rain you got. But outside of that, I mean, outside of Florida, it's a pretty nice July 3rd, July 4th Eve, if you will. I know for me, once I'm done with this video, I'm going to be busy the entire day. We're having a big 4th of July party at my house tomorrow. We're going to have a lot of people very excited about it. I'll probably post some pictures on here. But definitely we'll be getting straight to work after this video. But looking at Florida, just taking a closer look for you folks, starting off around 10 a.m., we already got thunderstorm activity. But once we get to about 2, 3, 4 o'clock, I mean, scattered thunderstorms and just tropical activity. Not a lot of ingredients for severe weather. This is just more so tropical in nature. So this is just going to produce some heavy rains. And I mean, I would say if you live Jacksonville, Gainesville, point south, everybody has a chance to see just multiple thunderstorms for the day. You get into 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11, and you get after midnight. And I do think things begin to simmer down somewhat. But rainfall between now and, say, the next, 36 hours between now and about 8 p.m. tomorrow. Tampa down to Sarasota going for anywhere from 3 to 6 inches of rain, but the entire peninsula of Florida gets about an inch of rain at least. So some areas will get several inches of rain. So just prepare for this. I mean, I could see them right now. There is a slight risk of flash flooding across western areas of Florida, but I could see them bumping it up to a 40% risk, which would show up in the red. So a moderate risk of flash flooding. But the Northeast today, starting off this morning, just a broad look at things. We'll get to about 1 or 2 o'clock this afternoon. You see those thunderstorms up in Vermont, getting into New Hampshire, and then, I mean, widespread thunderstorm activity up here in Maine. But then there's another area you want to watch here that will develop here in kind of the northern Adirondacks and southern areas of New York. And the gap could be filled in right here, too, in central areas of New York. But then we'll probably get a wave of thunderstorms across southern New York into southern New England for this evening also. But just taking a closer look at some of these areas, New York first, and we'll start off around 8 a.m. and we take it to about midday. You see the thunderstorm activity developing up there in northern areas of New York. And then that moves into Vermont. And then we start to get into about 4, 5, 6 p.m. More thunderstorms try to develop somewhere here in the southern tier of New York. I mean, could be right on top of Rochester, Syracuse. Watch out. Ithaca, Binghamton, some thunderstorms that could definitely hit severe limits. And these storms will sort of drift into, I mean, even places like the Poconos and the Catskills. You guys will probably get some thunderstorms this evening. This is 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11, and then we're about done. So they'll sweep in, kind of move more so west to east throughout these areas, kind of right into here. So just be aware of that. And then just a closer look to the I-95 corridor, southern New England, New York City, Long Island, Boston. We start to get to midday. I wouldn't expect a whole lot of anything. Now you start to get about 4, 5, 6 p.m. We start to see some scattered activity, but still not very widespread. And then we start to get to 8 p.m. And this is when we can start to get some widespread thunderstorm activity. I mean, you see over there near Scranton, Middletown, could get some storms down in New York City. A little bit of storm activity possible down there near like Delaware. But some storms you can see there in Connecticut. I mean, they could be anywhere, guys, out in Cape Cod possible. And I would just watch for an unorganized or organized line of storms to sort of sweep through southern New England throughout the evening hours. And then by the time we get to about midnight and after, things should begin to calm down. But There's a slight risk in some of these areas for a reason, so some of these storms will produce damaging winds. Now, you'll definitely get the more widespread and coverage type storm activity up here in Maine and surrounding regions. So, if you live there in eastern Canada, I mean, there's going to be some hefty thunderstorms, but we start to get about 2-3 p.m. You see the thunderstorms in northern areas of Vermont, getting into New Hampshire, and then look at western Maine and central Maine. I mean, these thunderstorms will be packing a punch. So this is definitely going to be a higher end severe weather day for you folks. Damaging winds, the biggest threat, but some hail is possible with this. And I would not rule out a spin up. You see the circles, the weird squiggly circle things coming off some of these storms, indicating more intense updrafts, intense thunderstorms. But man, it looks like the entire state of Maine almost gets at least one thunderstorm today. But 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. By the time we get into later in the evening, we should be about done. So this will be an afternoon to evening type thing for Maine. But widespread thunderstorms expected for today. And one thing I did not pull up that I'm thinking of right on the fly here is I want to look at predicted wind gust off the HRRR model for the state of Maine. Let's look at this. This will show other states too, so that's good. And wind gust swath, and we'll look at the 06Z. Yeah, it shows the clustering of these storms. You see how you got wave here, wave here. These are in 1 hour segments, but shows some, gusty 40, 50, 55, 60 mile per hour wind gusts with some of these storms. So just be aware of these. Now the south central U.S., just tropical moisture pushing out of Mexico and Central America. Mexico, but a lot of thunderstorm activity. This is around 2 p.m., 1 p.m. in the afternoon. We're getting a lot of thunderstorms. Not much ingredients for severe weather, but some storms in New Mexico, storms trying to slip into southern Colorado. We could get some widespread thunderstorms even in the southwest Arkansas, northern Louisiana, southeast Oklahoma. We start to get into the late in the evening, into the overnight hours. Probably going to be dealing with some heavy rains into the wee hours of the morning for central Texas, northern Texas also. And we'll wake up to some rainy conditions across areas of northern Texas and Oklahoma for tomorrow. But, rainfall in some of the highlighted regions in this area. San Angelo going for 1 to 2 inches of rain between now and 7 p.m. tomorrow. It just looks like some heavy precipitation is possible in this area. We look at New Mexico, just more rain, especially the southern areas of the state. Those areas in purple, that's where you can get over an inch of rain. So definitely a good bit in this area once again. North central U.S., there's 2 areas I'm watching. One obviously being North Dakota, but there's those storms right there firing in North Dakota. And then another area later tonight that could get going here in Wisconsin. You see, this is like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. These thunderstorms are rumbling right through the heart of Wisconsin. So I want to watch those. We could wake up to a complex of storms near Janesville. Milwaukee, maybe down to Chicago tomorrow morning. Could be a loud start to your 4th of July morning up here. But, just to kind of zoom into these individual areas, starting off this morning, a little bit of shower activity. And then we start to get into the evening hours. This is 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Williston, Dickinson, watch out. These storms are firing to your north and west. We could get a tornado out of some of these cells. See these individual cells up here. This is 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. These storms could pack one heck of a punch in Dickinson today. Large hail, brief tornado is possible, gusty, strong winds. And we get to 11 p.m., midnight tonight, cluster of storms rumbling through the heart of North Dakota, and then things should begin to diminish as it gets up into Canada. And then just to zoom into the state of Wisconsin here, it's quiet most of the day. Might not even get a thunderstorm until after the sun sets tonight. But here's those storms forming. Almost right on top of Eau Claire. This is 1 o'clock in the morning, guys, so it's pretty late tonight. But these storms, I later tonight could pack a punch. So be aware. There is a marginal risk in this area. But this is where the HRRR model really likes storms to form today. So I'm sorry, tonight. Let me reiterate that. So just be aware of these storms. This is 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. Tomorrow morning, waking up to some big storms, maybe around the Madison area, maybe down to Janesville. So just be aware of that. Western U.S., a lot of moisture just across the heart of the Rockies. Southern and northern areas of the Rockies too, but we're just getting a big push of moisture across this area. This is around 4, 5, 6 o'clock this afternoon, this evening. Anybody in the Rocky states, if I'm saying that correctly, but in the states that have the Rocky Mountains in there, could get some rounds of moisture for today, and then we start to get into the overnight hours, and then we'll probably do it again tomorrow afternoon. But rainfall between now and about 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. Just pockets of a few tenths of an inch of rain here, maybe an inch of rain there. And then taking a look further north, some heavier rain possible across Idaho and Montana. So we could get just, in those blues and purples, I mean, that's where we can get a half an inch to an inch of rain. So a little bit more here in the mountainous regions of Idaho and Montana where there's more lift because of the spike in elevation. Temperatures, behind these storms up here in the interior sections of New England, it could cool off. Look at these 40s in eastern Canada. But of course, regular run-of-the-mill type summer conditions across the southern tier of the country. Nothing, weird one way or the other with that, compared to average. But plume of hot air, definitely up here in the northern high plains. 90s, low 100s. And it's going to be hot even across the upper Midwest and these regions. We got some high humidity, so heat index will be a little bit up there. But western U.S., nothing crazy one way or the other. Looking at tomorrow's severe weather outlooks, your 4th of July, there is a marginal risk across areas of the plains and upper Midwest. Does include, sections of the western UP, but level 1 out of 5 risk of severe weather. And then if you live in the green areas, you do have just a general risk of just thunderstorms in general, nothing too crazy. And then day 3, which is for your 5th of July, if you will, a marginal risk here across areas of the upper Midwest, and then a marginal risk across the central and northern sections of the high plains. And then we just have a general risk of thunderstorms in the light green, but I mean, not seeing anything too crazy, guys, at all. And then the excessive rainfall outlook, I will watch for a risk of flash flooding up here in areas of North Dakota and the northeast Minnesota. And for day 3, I mean, nothing really anything to discuss in detail, honestly. All right, so giving you an update on the tropics. Let's see if we have another update. We do not. So right now, we have bumped up to a 50% chance of a development of tropical development off the coast of the southeast. You notice we no longer have an area in the northeast Gulf. Okay, this is all now off the coast of the southeast. So there's a 50% chance of tropical development in this orange area. Tropical development meaning a tropical depression or even a named storm. The next name is the sea name Chantal. It says it right there. Environmental conditions appear only marginally conducive for some slow development, but a tropical or subtropical depression could form in this region over the weekend or early next week while the storm drifts northward or northeastward. So, pretty much the same thing that, it was saying yesterday morning. Honestly, I don't even know if they've really tweaked the discussion here. There's also a 10% chance it could develop in the next 48 hours, so I do want to add that. But we'll see if this goes up. If it does bump up to, say, a 70% chance, this area would show up in red. But taking a look at the area we're watching, it's right into here. But, I mean, there's really nothing to discuss. But we'll have to watch for any kind of firing of convection. Convection meaning shower and storm activity throughout the next 24 hours or 48 hours. But honestly, this isn't going to tell the story right now much, but there's stalled energy off the coast of the southeast. It's going to try to develop somewhere in this area. So, if we do look at, say, the GFS, this is the morning GFS, and we're going to start this off for tomorrow morning. It's already, initializing with a 1014 millibar low, so a weak low pressure off the coast of the southeast. Now, what does it do? We take it into tomorrow evening. Just has a bunch of moisture off the coast of the southeast over Florida. And then we drift this into Saturday morning, the 5th of July, and still just kind of a weak low right here. But there's something here, obviously. The thing about these tropical systems this time of the year, and really just with any weak tropical system, a lot of times they're lopsided, and they're just east side weighted. Meaning most of the activity on these tropical systems, the worse of the weather, the most of the moisture it has is on the east side. So if this tropical system is off the coast of the southeast, obviously the eastern side of this system is going to be further off the coast. So that's good news because it's not going to bring a ton of flooding rains or maybe the highest wind gust and even a little bit of a tornado threat. This will be over the open waters. So as we get into Saturday evening, this thing sort of just hangs out off the coast of the southeast. But, maybe as we get into Sunday morning, it tries to push a plume of moisture up against the Carolina coastline. It shows it right there. So I would watch eastern sections of North Carolina, especially if this model run is, close to what's going to happen. And then eventually all this kind of just heads on off and then we're done with it. So, I've had a lot of people in the comments or just people in general, even at work, saying, is this going to ruin my beach plans? Guys, I'll say this again, even with a tropical system, unless it's a strong tropical system, this is not going to ruin your beach trip. Now, is it going to kick up the surf and make dangerous rip currents? Absolutely. But I would say that's the biggest risk with this. Do not cancel your beach trips for this weekend because of this system. If anything, I'd want to go even more. I'm a person, when I go to the beach, I like bodyboarding and boogie boarding out there. So the bigger waves are cool to me. So I always enjoy some bigger waves, but it can be dangerous. We know that. So we got to watch out. Now the Euros, pretty much the same, guys. Initializes tomorrow as a 1014 millibar low, just a very weak low pressure. Has a lot of moisture hanging off the coast of the southeast. Gets down to a 1010 millibar low a Saturday morning and looks like a pretty decent low pressure here, but a decent, not as in a hurricane or a tropical storm, but just a distinct low pressure. You can see it here, but I think this is a great example of it. You see how all the moisture is on the eastern side, the actual central low? Well, there's no land on the eastern side. But some of this moisture could push up against the Carolina coastline eventually. But as we get into Sunday, just like the GFS shows, it could toss some heavier moisture into the eastern sections of North Carolina. We'll have to see that. Or maybe the low pressure just actually goes right into eastern North Carolina. But, I don't know. Maybe one solid rainy day generated off this thing, and then it heads on off. But, a really good way to show this is the 850 millibar energy map. This tells us where there's energy in the lower levels of the atmosphere. And, this is indicated by the colors you see on your screen, the yellows, the orange, the reds, things like that. And you can see these wind barbs right in here if you look close enough. You see how they're rotating around each other cyclonically? This tells us that there's a lower level spin in the atmosphere. So it's a great thing to look at when we're trying to find weaker energy. So we start off tomorrow morning. You can see a spin right here off the coast of the southeast spinning around. And then we start to get into, Sunday. So what I was just showing you, actually, this is for not tomorrow, this is for Saturday. And then we get into Sunday and, shows some more reds and things like that, maybe stronger energy, maybe, and basically at the surface, this is reflected as probably some heavy rain, but just a broad spin. Nothing's tight about this spin, and then it heads on off. And this is the same thing with the Euro, guys. Not a whole lot different. We'll back this up and, we get into tomorrow. There it is. Tomorrow afternoon, there's a spin off the coast of the southeast. You can see it clear as day. And then it sort of drifts around Saturday into Sunday. Then it kind of plows into the Carolina coastline. But when I say plows, I know that sounds kind of worrisome or scary, but it's a weak low pressure, guys. But I will tell you, there is definitely what's going on down here? Some very warm sea surface temperatures. I wonder if that's messed up here, bad reading. But it is definitely, it's warm just over the last few days. But you can see where the Gulf Stream is off the coast of the southeast. This is in Celsius, but you convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. 29 degrees Celsius is like the mid 80s in Fahrenheit. So there's some pockets of a low to mid, maybe even some upper 80s in some of these waters. So just to sum all that up, sea surface temperatures, which is one of the things you look at for tropical development, certainly support tropical development. Rapid intensification, I would say probably not. But anyways, as far as one of the impacts of this will be rip currents, the other will be, a few inches of rain. But, starting with Florida, it's between now and about 8 a.m. Tuesday of next week. Another few inches of rain is possible. But, guys, this is honestly for a lot for what's going to happen over the next 36 hours. But you head on up into Georgia and South Carolina. Some heavy rain is possible on the coastline of Georgia, South Carolina. Could get an inch, 2 inches of rain. And this is off the low pressure off the coast of the southeast. So, you can tell it's confined to the coastal areas, maybe an hour or two inland. But we take a look at North Carolina. This is an area where I want to watch to see if this changes a bit. But right now, Outer Banks certainly could get a few inches of rain. But I want to see if this area, the rainfall totals predicted increase. So, folks, that's all I got. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. I don't have a Bible devotion for this morning. I do apologize about that. Trying to make it an everyday thing, but I think I've bumped it up to about 4 or 5 times a week now. But I'll have another one probably tomorrow morning. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless. And appreciate y'all. And we'll talk soon.